And I was asking about the movie, and I asked him about that one particular part where everybody's talking, and they all cried out Epstein Island. And I went, oh, okay. Now I understand what we're up against.
Wow.
Epstein Island isn't the only island out there.
Some things once heard can never be erased from your mind. Jim Caviezel has spent years trying to deliver a message. Along the way, he's been labeled a conspiracy theorist. He's been pushed aside. He's even been ridiculed by late-night hosts who should have paid attention instead of turning it into a joke. His film, Sound of Freedom, shed light on the realities surrounding children, yet it was sidelined by the industry and brushed off by those who publicly claimed to protect them. But Caviezel didn't back down. He kept speaking out, and now he's bringing forward something even more disturbing. Jim now claims he personally reached out to Ellen DeGeneres asking for help to save children connected to Epstein Island. According to him, he contacted her directly, urging her to use her platform to raise awareness and take action, but nothing happened. Now, Caviezel is starting to call out names and reveal what he believes is a hidden network, pointing to links between Hollywood elites and an island that was never meant to be exposed. Today, we take a closer look at Jim Caviezel's warnings, his urgent appeal to Ellen DeGeneres, and the question that refuses to go away. Who else was aware, and who made the choice to remain silent?
The Ellen situation.
Yeah.
You know, people found out that Ellen was mean, and all these people came out and said, Ellen's actually... And they were like, whoa, I can't believe it. And she lost everything. She fell apart, disappeared, because people found out that this character that she was portraying in a half an hour on a television show is not really who she was.
I brought this up a few years ago, and all of a sudden I was attacked by every media. Look it up. It's there.
Not long ago, Jim Caviezel was at the height of his career. He had everything Hollywood could offer: fame, fortune, and prestige. He could have stayed comfortable like so many others, kept quiet, and collected his paychecks. But he chose a different path. He created Sound of Freedom, inspired by the true story of Tim Ballard, a man who risked everything to rescue children from trafficking networks across Latin America and beyond. While filming in Colombia, Caviezel and his team witnessed horrors no actor should ever see. Children being sold in plain sight, treated like commodities, like they were nothing. Caviezel later explained that the scenes in the film were dramatized, but the reality they saw was horrifyingly real. He returned to Hollywood expecting support, expecting the very industry that had propelled him to back a movie about saving children. Instead, he was met with silence and ultimately blacklisted.
They're created out of fear, and with something like Sound of Freedom, it specifically is looking at QAnon concepts of these child rings that are run by the high-level elites.
For some reason, the entire media is smearing this movie as a dangerous conspiracy theory. The press is saying that the star, Jim Caviezel, is a QAnon guy. And Jim plays Tim Ballard, which is strange because just a few years ago, the same media was celebrating Tim Ballard's heroics. So why is the media warning people not to see a movie about child that's based on a true story?
Major studios and networks faced intense pressure from powerful insiders to avoid the film. They were cautioned that even considering it could jeopardize their careers.
I was not emotionally prepared for the new film, Sound of Freedom. You've heard it referred to as a right-wing film, as a Christian film, as a conspiracy movie, as a QAnon film. You know, they use all the buzzwords to make this film as radioactive as possible.
Sound of Freedom, it specifically is looking at QAnon concepts of these child rings that are run by the high-level elites. Now, it's not true.
The movie highlights the very real, not conspiracy theory of human. I need to remind you of another thing that was considered a conspiracy theory up until 5 seconds ago, which was the fact that a little guy named Jeffrey Epstein had a little island where the most powerful people, the tippity top of government officials, celebrity, Hollywood, would go.
Why would an entire industry try to bury a film about saving children? Why would powerful people go to such lengths to silence a story that deserved celebration? Then the Epstein documents were unsealed, and the public braced for familiar names: politicians, financiers, the usual suspects. What emerged was far more extensive. A sprawling list of figures spanning industries, attendees of his parties, passengers on his plane, visitors to his island. One name immediately caught attention: Ellen DeGeneres. Her name appeared repeatedly, not casually, but in contexts that made observers pause and ask, what did she know? In the 2014 files, her name appeared in emails regarding meeting schedules. Nothing overtly incriminating, but for those following Jim Caviezel's warnings, it raised questions about her connection to Epstein's world. Caviezel claims he personally reached out, pleading for her to use her platform to speak out about the children on Epstein Island, but she never did. Another name casts a shadow over this story: Anne Heche. In August 2022, she died in a fiery car crash in Los Angeles, driving into a home and losing her life. Officially ruled an accident, yet whispers persist online. Some highlight Anne's history of speaking out about dark forces in Hollywood, and the timing coincided with the Epstein revelations gaining traction. Unverified reports suggest she was working on a documentary exposing child trafficking networks, a project called Children of the Machine. Its existence may never be confirmed. What is known is that Anne spent years processing experiences involving Ellen that she claimed were too disturbing to speak aloud. Then she was gone. Sources close to her, unnamed and unverified, have suggested her death may not have been accidental, implying she might have been silenced before she could reveal what she knew. Yet Ellen was not the only prominent figure mentioned. Oprah Winfrey appears over 5 times in the Epstein files. In deposition transcripts, Oprah claimed minimal contact with Epstein, but her associations with other controversial figures have drawn scrutiny. She was a vocal supporter of John of God, a man later convicted and sentenced to nearly 400 years in prison. Oprah had praised him, featured him on her show, and publicly expressed belief in him, adding another layer of complexity to these revelations.
This is an interview I wasn't sure would ever happen. One of the most famous spiritual healers in the world rarely talks to anyone on camera. John of God agreed to sit down with me under a mango tree on the grounds of the casa. A group of his patients gathered to watch. John of God speaks only Portuguese, so Heather Cumming helped translate. Ready, guys? You describe yourself as a spiritual medium. What does that mean, a medium?
In 2007, Oprah Winfrey founded a school for underprivileged girls in South Africa. Shortly after, a dormitory matron faced accusations, and Oprah addressed the situation publicly, testified before Congress, and ultimately resolved the matter quietly, away from the spotlight.
The trial of a former dormitory matron charged with 6 students at Oprah Winfrey School for Girls in South Africa is resuming. Prosecutors say former dorm matron Tina Virginia Makopo tried to kiss and fondle the girls. She's also accused of kicking and hitting some of them. Makopo pleaded innocent to 14 charges of indecent assault and criminal injury in South Africa. Meanwhile, in Philadelphia, the ex-headmistress of the $40 million school is suing Winfrey for defamation. The suit claims someone would conclude from Winfrey's comments that the school employee knew of the alleged and was actively involved in covering it up.
I was, needless to say, devastated and really shaken to my core.
Winfrey said she was disappointed in the former headmistress. The TV talk show host also made comments about students who felt there was an atmosphere of repression at the school.
It's not only Epstein that Oprah Winfrey has connections with. For years, she was seen alongside Harvey Weinstein, attending his parties, smiling for cameras, yet she never publicly spoke against him until the wider world demanded it. Jim Caviezel uses a specific term for figures like Oprah: gatekeepers, people who lend their influence, credibility, and platforms to systems that exploit the vulnerable, whether intentionally or not. This is not proof of criminal wrongdoing. Ellen has not been charged. Oprah has not been accused. But the connections exist. the questions remain, and the silence of the most powerful voices in media speaks louder than any denial. In August 2019, Jeffrey Epstein died in federal custody. Officially ruled a suicide, yet millions remain skeptical. Cameras malfunctioned, guards reportedly slept through the night, and key surveillance footage went missing. With Epstein gone, the public lost the chance to hear directly from the man at the center of it all. Since then, documents have emerged, names have appeared, but the full truth, who knew what, who went where, who participated, remains hidden beneath legal barriers and media silence. Every release is heavily redacted, every file incomplete. The people named are still present, still working, still attending events and accepting awards. A protective network of money, lawyers, and media influence shields them, while accountability remains elusive. Caviezel has been speaking out for years. He doesn't see merely a scandal, he sees a system, a network so deeply embedded that exposing it feels impossible. Blacklisted, ridiculed, dismissed, he continues to speak. He warns of a coming divine reckoning, a moment when the walls will fall. Behind the names and redactions lies a reality too many wish to ignore. Over 300,000 children under 18 in the US alone are affected. That's not a statistic, that's a stadium full of children. Around 85,000 children crossing the southern border vanish without a trace, swallowed by a system meant to protect them. Despite the risks, whistleblowers continue to come forward, paying a high personal price, knowing the consequences others faced before them. They speak because remaining silent is worse. Anne Heche is gone, her 2022 car crash shrouded in questions. Many believe she knew, had seen, and was preparing to speak. Then suddenly, she was gone. Epstein is gone too, taking with him the full extent of his knowledge. Secrecy endures. Protection for the powerful continues. The system that allowed Epstein to operate for decades functions unchanged. Yet the children wait. Survivors speak. The truth struggles to break through. Caviezel insists a reckoning is coming, a moment when walls fall, when the truth can no longer be contained. He points to whistleblowers, sealed documents, and subtle shifts beneath the surface. Is he right? Or will this story be buried like so many before it? Will names remain redacted? Will promises of accountability remain empty? The island remains. The files remain sealed. The powerful remain protected, but the questions linger. Now, tell me what you think about this entire saga in the comments. Until next time.